All right. Welcome to Inside the Grind podcast, the podcast for people building real coffee shops. Every episode, we sit down with someone who's deep in the day to day, hiring, fixing, worrying, making hard choices, and still showing up to serve. These are honest stories from founders in the thick of it. No fluff, no ego, just the real grind and what's getting them through. If you're building something on your blog, this one's for you. Brought to you by Coffee Futures Fund. Here we go. All right. Héctor Carvajal in the house. How are you feeling, buddy?
I'm feeling great, man. I'm feeling great. I'm feeling good, active. I got coffee. Life is good.
That's all you need. So, we were just talking about your story, your journey, and the way I want to start this conversation is about you taking us back, not May 2024, which is the first month of Don Carvajal Coffee, but what happened before that? Take us through your journey, the 7 years before that, and you actively started getting involved in the coffee space. What's your journey?
It's very interesting because it's untraditional. At least I think so. When I started in coffee, it started off as a class project in college, and I just noticed that there wasn't nobody representing, especially Dominican coffee in the specialty world. And I'm from the Dominican Republic, and the first thing your immigrant mom is gonna tell you is how bad things are here. Like, coffee sucks, or the mangoes are not that great. You know what I mean? And it's always like, man, like, I mean, it just doesn't compare. We import everything. We can't compare it to the origin. So I've always heard things like that growing up. Like, oh man, the avocados are so expensive, but they're so whack, and so many things. When coffee was one of those things, and I'm like, wow, man. I'm like, there's really nobody like representing these products, like importing it, exporting it to other places, stuff like that. And it was just something lingering in the back of my head, like that back of your head. It's like the unconscious bias you have just sitting back here. So then when I got to college, I was studying business, and I had a marketing class. And we had to create a business plan and a marketing plan. And then that's kind of how the whole Don Carvajal Café thing got organized. So we had to create this business plan, marketing plan. I was like, great. I had just had this idea about this coffee brand, Don Carvajal Café. And it just all came to me, like my grandfather's on the face because he was a farmer, focusing on Dominican coffee, but there was none here. So then let me start with Costa Rican or Colombian. And then I started doing it in college and like literally slinging coffee out of my dorm room. So that was fun. And then I think you're in Boston, right? So back in 2018, if I'm not mistaken, SCA was in Boston, or 2019, if I'm not mistaken, was in Boston. And I was dying to go. I was like, man, I was like, I need to be in this room. But I was just a broke college kid. I was like, I can't afford to go. But I was like trying to find a grant somewhere or some program to pay for just like for me to go. But I didn't get to make it. But then that was like, I knew that this thing called SCA Expo existed, and then all these things. So that was cool. And then that summer I started interning somewhere and also doing my coffee. And then August came around and I had to go back to school. And I felt like I had so much momentum with the coffee. It was really not much going on. But to me, it was like, wow, like people are buying this thing. Even if it was like 5 people, like a month, I was like, people are buying this thing. You know what I mean? And I just saw the vision. And I was like, people believe in it. Like, that's crazy. People are paying for this. Like, that's crazy. So I was like, is either I go back to school or I continue doing this brand, because I kind of can't do the brand if I go back to school. But I could always go back to school once I develop this brand. So that was kind of my thing. And then ever since then, I just did the brand full time. Started working farmers markets, doing events, pop-ups, shows, you name it, man. Doing content, doing tutorial videos, delivering coffee to people's houses during the pandemic. It was just like, we gonna make this work. Yeah, and then after like X amount of years, I opened up the first Don Carvajal Cafe coffee shop. And the reason why I opened it, I honestly never really wanted to open up a coffee shop. I really never ever wanted to open up a coffee shop because I know how much work it takes. And I think that it's really hard to scale a coffee shop, and I think it's really hard to manage one. I've always thought that. And that's why I never did one earlier. But the real big reason why I never did one is because I never had the capital for it. Um, and when you're like 20 something years old in college, you ain't got to open up a coffee shop, buddy. You don't got to take the bus money. You don't got no money. So I just thought that the initial investment for a roaster or a coffee shop was just way too high. And I was just like, it just didn't make sense to get into debt for something that's not even like proven. I mean, I think a lot of people open up coffee shops they open the door and they're like, "Where's everybody at?" And it's like nobody knows you. So I think it's important to build the foundation, build the community, and build a base of customers that are excited about your product and that believe in you and stuff like that. And I think that was kind of my approach. I was just like, if I open up a coffee shop, will this really work? And it was so many years that I really wanted to do it. But it was just like, is this the right idea? No, and it just cost so much money, and then for it to not work would be crazy. So I always just kind of held on as long as possible, and then I felt like I got to a point where it was after the pandemic, and I just felt like people just got tired of being home. People got tired of Zoom calls. People got tired of being on camera, on a laptop. People just got tired of just being inside. And I was just like, I think humans are ready to use their five senses again. You know what I mean? Like just you want to smell stuff, you want to see stuff, you want to touch stuff. Oh, that burns. Like they just want to get out there. They want to hear stuff. So that's kind of how I felt about the coffee shop situation. And I also felt like my brand got to a point where it was like it was growing because we have like an e-commerce store and we're now like available in Whole Foods and stuff like that. We have some private clients that we supply to like their offices and we do private events. But I think that we got to a point where it was like, how much more can you really grow? Like that. You could always keep on working and daggering at e-commerce and trying to build these subscriptions and all that. Like that's you could just always do that. So I just think that at some point I got to a point where I was like, how much can I really grow? You know what I mean? Out of this. And to me it was cool. I didn't mind the pace that I was going. I think I did a lot of work. Looking back, it is a long time. It has been a long time, but I think that in that time I did a lot, and that kind of accelerated the process a little bit. But I thought that my brand was great. We have a lot of good content and people follow us online and we have a good following and we've been featured in X amount of networks and it's cool. But I think that you get to a point where people just need a place to just go to. Like people see me on TV and they're excited, like, wow, this is so cool. Where can I go? Nowhere. You know what I mean? Like, go to my website. I should buy yourself a bag of coffee. It's like it just doesn't hit the same. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, versus let me drive to this spot. Let me put it on the can, mother coffee, here the grinder. You know what I'm saying? Like it's all the little things like the cafe culture. And then I have my own twist to it because it's Dominican inspired. So it's at the end of the day, if you have an espresso machine, that's Italian coffee culture. You know what I mean? And then you got to put your own twist on it. Then if you have a kitchen, what kind of concept are you doing out of there? So I feel like that was my thing where like I just wanted a place for people to have an experience. Just like Disney has Disney World. You know what I mean? That's kind of how I felt about having my coffee shop. It was like, this is my version of Disney World. Come to my world. Come to my place and I will show you how I brew coffee because people always ask me online, how would you suggest I brew this coffee? Just come to my coffee shop and I just show you how I do that. And it serves as a great place for storytelling, for education, for us to walk people through things like that. So I just like what it provides for people. It makes my brand real, and that's really why I did the coffee shop.
It's a cool story. Oh, you talked about
Thank
a
you.
lot of things. I want to specifically double click on the brand aspect, right? That
Mhm.
made you connect with people. When people want to see you, when people want to feel you, people want to see how you really do it, people want to experience the whole thing, right? So, and like you talked about doing tutorials, you're trying to do pop-ups, you're trying to be in the market, farmers market. What was your mindset? What were you thinking and feeling at that point? I'm talking in terms of, did you have, okay, this is where I'm going, so I'm taking steps in that direction, or you were just going with the flow? At this point, when you look at the things in hindsight, right, last 7 years, what were you thinking and feeling at that point, creating the brand?
I think that for the most part, I was just really going with the flow, but more importantly, just follow my taste. Like what I like and what I don't like. Like you can show me two things and I'll be like, I don't like this, I love that. Or I don't like that, I don't love this, can we marry it together? And I think it's just understanding what you like and what you don't like and understanding the world. And I think just growing up when I grew up, some of us like picked up some things, some people are extremely good at social media. Some people are extremely good at graphic design. Some people are extremely good at designing clothes. I don't know. People are just good at different things. I think we have so much access to technology. And growing up, when I grew up, you just had all these things popping up: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, 10,000 other apps. You know what I mean? And it was just like all these things were happening, and it was that's when I felt like you got to understand people. You can see what goes viral, and then you could look at it like, well, why do people love this? You know what I mean? So I've always looked at stuff like, okay, well, why is this? What makes this that? And for me, I've always known what I liked. I've always been a very simple person. I grew up with very little. I grew up poor in Dominican Republic. And then we moved to New York City, and then it was like a new poor, but it was better poor, you know? So I always grew up with a little, and I felt like growing up with a little, you always like hold on to things. Like even clothes from the past. Like, oh, maybe one day I'm gonna wear that, or I'm gonna give this to my kid, or whatever it is. Or your parents buy you an oversized shirt so you can wear that for the next 3 years because you're gonna grow into it. It's kind of funny. But I always knew growing up, like I always like little things and not too much of anything around me. And that's kind of how I treat my brand. I don't like it to be too busy. I like it to be very simple, to the point. Let me not waste your time. And the brand is just, it's a reflection of everything I like and don't like about my life growing up. It's everything I hate, everything I don't like in a company, I don't do. And everything I loved from experiences that I've had from brands that I grew up around. It's just like a reflection of that. So I kind of went with the flow for the most part, but it was just my take on building my brand. You know what I mean? With my grandfather's face on it. So I always like just treated it how I treated it, and I'm just glad that it reciprocated well with people. I think growing up as an entrepreneur, you know, a lot of people have a lot of ideas, and then some of them are good, some of them are bad. But you just need one of them to stick, really, and that's how I feel about this one.
Yeah, that's well said. Do you remember any particular instance before? Again, we're talking about a life before you actually opened the coffee shop, right? So, do you remember any particular instance that, you know what, this is making me feel connected? You talked about you love to observe people, you like to have your own taste, you like to see, okay, what's going viral, what are people connecting with? So, do you remember any instance? You know what? Hey, I did this. This made sense. I'm enjoying it, and people are now connecting with it. I think this is making sense. So, or do you remember any such instance like that?
I think that's a good one. I think the first time I started posting mocha pots, yeah, because like I think culturally we get into coffee and we just want to do the all the pour overs and the V60s and the French presses and the siphons and then all the AeroPress, and we just get so caught up in the specialty world that I think that people forgot about how they even learned about coffee. You know what I mean? How your mother brewed coffee, how your grandmother brewed coffee, how the cultural piece brews coffee, you know? And that to me was like, man, like at some point I feel like there was cafe culture, but I felt like at some point there was really no culture in coffee. I think the most culture in coffee is at the farm, is at the origin. You know what I mean? There's cafe culture, but there's not like real culture in coffee world. And to me, one thing that made me different from everybody in the coffee world was my culture. And that's when I realized I was like, I just need to do what I did X amount of years ago because I wasn't born here. I was born in the Dominican Republic. And when I came to this country, people, like at least kids in my school, used to make fun of me for not wearing Jordans, for not wearing name brand things, for wearing oversized shirts. It was just like that. I was the little outlier, right? I didn't speak English. Everybody else did. I was that new kid that nobody could understand. Some kids did because they were bilingual. Great. And I felt like I was always trying to like, you know, assimilate to the United States and get down with the culture and all that. I grew up in the Bronx, so I like hip hop. It's kind of inevitable. You know what I mean? But you just always trying to like kind of fit in. You just want to be accepted. And then when I got to high school, I think that's kind of when I felt like my first year I was kind of trying to figure out what the situation was. But then at some point I was just like, I'm just gonna be myself. Like actually full blown myself. This is where I'm from. This is what we listen to. This is what we like. And I just kind of just at some point I just wholeheartedly became whoever I was as a person, understanding where I came from, what I liked, what we listened to, how we dance music, the seasonings we use in our food, like just understanding that for real. And I think that when I embraced being myself, that's when I got the most success out of having friendships, and being with family and just being accepted in places I wanted to be at. And that's kind of the same situation I applied to the coffee. Like this is who I am. I'm not making something up. I'm not trying to be a part of something that is not, that I don't identify with, you know? And that's how I felt about the Mocha Pot experience.
Okay.
And brewing mocha pots on Instagram. Oh my God, like my grandmother used to make coffee and that every morning. And it just got super sentimental in the comments of like nostalgia and people just thinking back to their childhoods and, oh, I brew this every morning or just any brewing recipes. And I just felt like not many people were really doing that. I wasn't the first one to do it, but I don't think many people were doing that back when I started doing that. And I think that that was me trying to bridge the gap for people in specialty coffee, because I think that specialty coffee is not a huge percentage of the world's consumption of coffee. And I think that a lot of people sometimes are stuck in the specialty world, and they're not really trying to educate people. To me, it was like, because specialty coffee is very intimidating. If you're not in it and you've never been in it and you have no entry point, like, it's really intimidating. It might seem easier now because we understand coffee, but if you look back to when you started, like, all these dialing in espresso is, to a random person, that is very complicated. Or like doing a pour over is very complicated to a normal person. Or steaming milk is very complicated to the standard person who has never done that. So that's that. And I think that the world of coffee in the past, I think, had been like too like, oh, if you don't know how to do this, then get out the way. You know what I mean? And for me, it was like, you know what? I'm gonna learn as I go, and as I learn, I'm gonna educate my peoples. You know what I mean? And I'm gonna try to explain this to people like my mom who have never drank specialty coffee in their life, but they're used to drinking coffee from back home, or they drink whatever big brand is the one in the country. So I think for me that was the biggest piece. A little mocha pot, man, just showed me how much of an importance the culture was for me. Like that is a part of my brand, is us celebrating our culture, celebrating Dominican culture, Dominican coffee culture, the mocha pots, the little sock that we brew coffee in that looks like a pour over. That showed me a lot
Yeah. Little
from
mocha
that.
pot.
A little mocha pot, little mocha
Little
pot.
mocha pot. I think you say this beautifully, the culture piece, especially because you're right. When people who have no access or just entry point in specialty coffee, it's so much about science. How do I do this? How do I do that? How do I get it right? So many things to measure, etc., etc. People forget the art, and the beauty is in the art, right? Of course,
Mhm.
the science is there, but the beauty is in the art, and culture brings that art. Okay, am I having fun? What's the story behind it? Why am I really doing it? Tell me more about your life. Tell me more about your grandmother, and remember my grandmother. So I think that's the art piece. That's so cool
Mhm.
about what we do.
And to add one more thing, I think that it's easy to get lost in it because you
Yeah.
go to YouTube and there's like 10,000 different opinions about one thing. And there's no direct source to it. And it's like the people from all over the world who do things differently. I think that's also a big part of it.
That's true. That's true. And therefore, they need someone relatable. I don't want to, just go and do the academic study on YouTube. I want to see a person like Hector doing it,
Right.
showing it to me, and not just the works, but also the story behind it. So I can really get involved and see myself also. I mean, it's a funny saying, but it's about monkeys. Monkey see, monkey do. It's
Mhm.
so true for humans also. We want to see relatable people. We want to see someone who does that so that we can see, you know what? Hector is doing it. I think I can do it too. Let me give it a shot. Let me follow him.
Right.
Let me see. So
Um,
that's cool. That's
Word.
cool. How about we fast forward to your life before the coffee shop to the
Mhm.
life as a coffee shop owner after May 2024. Again, 12 months. Happy birthday to Don Carvajal Coffee. How's it been? How's it been? How's life now when you compare the two life's phases?
I think it's very interesting. There's like definitely pros and cons. I think that definitely it's so many parts to it because I just also have a lot of other things going on the business side. Like us launching in Whole Foods and the coffee shop opening was kind of like a month apart, so that was like a whole new part to the business because you also do a lot of B2B and e-commerce. So it's like managing all these things is a little interesting. It's tough sometimes because I wish it was just a coffee shop sometimes, but it's not just that. So, I mean, definitely challenging some days, but keeps me very busy along with everything else I got going on. My favorite part is the people, man. I think that just being there and seeing people walk in, like, I drove 2 hours to come here. And I'm like, 2 hours is crazy. Or I just came from Virginia. I'm like, Virginia is crazy. So I'm just like, I think the most rewarding part is like the fact that people identify with this to the point where they will drive 2 hours. Like that to me is like, damn, that's crazy. That was not in my business plan in terms of target demographic. You know what I'm saying? It just kind of just happened. So I think that's the most rewarding piece is the cultural piece, the people, the experience that people enjoy. People tell me that they're enjoying something I created in my head. It was just an idea.
Yeah. That's it for this episode of Inside the Grind. If something here helped, make sure to subscribe and pass it to another coffee shop owner friend. We all need each other more than we admit. To learn more or join the community, head to coffeefutures.fun. This movement is just getting started. Until next time, keep brewing. Your shop matters more than you know.